Of all the areas we examine, perhaps the one that most seriously affects women's lives is bias in the workplace. In recent years, women have been filing and winning sex discrimination suits against some of the country's biggest corporations. Although more women are working than ever before, studies show they are slower to advance, and in many businesses hit glass ceilings.
Yes, hello, my name's Chris Williams, and I'm calling about your ad in the paper.
So we go through the Help Wanted section in a Cincinnati newspaper and have Chris and Julie answer an ad for 20 positions available, everything from sales to management. We give our testers similar backgrounds, experience in litigation support or paralegal work. But when Julie goes in, the job interviewer immediately talks to her about being a secretary.
Basically, like you have experience like answering phones, doing filing, things like that.
Yeah. And even then, he isn't optimistic he has a job for her.
I can't promise you anything, but you know, I'll process the application. I don't do the final hire.
But watch what happens when Chris goes in. The interviewer talks to him about a much bigger job.
We need help in our customer service and delivery end of our position. I can't get you into management right away because I really don't know much about you.
Sure.
But, you know, if you're willing, open-minded, to learn our business, we're willing to work with you.
As the interview goes on, he begins to give Chris the hard sell.
Well, I want you to come and look at our business for a full day.
Okay.
I don't want you to make a decision right now on a 2-minute appointment.
Okay.
Are you free on Thursday to come in?
When you look at the tape now, and you see your interview and Chris's, what do you think?
There's a world of difference between his attitude towards me and his attitude towards Chris.
How does that make you feel?
I'm angry. I'm frustrated.
Judith Lichtman also sees a big difference in the way they were treated.
That man walked in and he began talking about managerial jobs. She walked in and he was talking about filing.
But can't this be a man in an office who looks at two people and just sees him doing one thing and her doing another, making a judgment as any personnel person might make?
Not if the only difference between them is their gender.
So we go back to see the job interviewer. Do you treat men and women any differently here?
No.
How about people coming in for jobs?
Not at all.
We tell the man that we sent Chris and Julie in applying for the same jobs with almost identical qualifications. Your approach to the two of them was totally different.
Well, maybe that's why I felt the position that might be better for them.
How come?
Just a judgment, I guess.
Could I show you something? We show the man our tapes of his meetings with Chris and Julie. He asks that the camera be shut off while he watches. Afterwards, he says he's had a change of heart.
I'm brand new in the business.
Right.
I make mistakes, and sorry, it just happens I made a mistake there.
But the apology doesn't last long. As soon as we turn our cameras off, he explains that he would never want a man answering his phone. We wonder whether this is just an isolated case. So we answer another ad, a lawn care company looking for territory managers. We give Chris a background as an office supply manager. We make Julie more qualified for the job, the manager of a floral shop.
Hi, yes, I was responding to the ad in the paper for territory managers.
But when Julie gets there, she's given a typing test and meets one of the bosses.
What brings you to Cincinnati?
My fiance got a job here.
Oh, okay. And what type of business is he working in?
He spends more time talking about Julie's fiancé than about her.
Well, we're not here to talk about him. We're here to talk about you, right? What is his name, by the way?
Despite her previous experience as a manager, Julie is told about a job as a receptionist.
So we need someone, number one, who has the capability of answering 7, 8, 9 lines at a time.
As for her salary,
this job is starting off, depends upon experience, anywhere from $6 and up.
Compare that with what happens to Chris. While Julie is given a typing test, he gets an aptitude test. And there is instant camaraderie.
You still play soccer, tennis, and softball?
Yes, I do.
That's good. Keeps you young and energetic.
Chris gets a rundown of the job they both applied for, territory manager.
During the time you're trained, we bring you in, you go through 1 day of training in-house, and then you've got 5 days out in the field, trained with a manager.
And while Julie's job pays $6 an hour, Chris is told he could make a lot more.
You can make anywhere from $300 to $450 to $500 a week. Just depends upon what you want to do.
As they watch the tape, Julie is disturbed.
We need someone, number one, who has the capability of answering 7, 8, 9 lines at a time.
You were shaking your head.
That's just, don't even get me started. That's outrageous.
You're steamed, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm very, very steamed about this. I mean, if this situation had played out to the logical conclusion, I probably would have been Chris's secretary.
He would have been the manager, making $500 a week.
And I would have been handling all these incoming calls at $6 an hour.
Back at the lawn care business, the boss says he was running 2 ads and assumed Julie had applied for the secretarial job. He says women don't do well as territory manager, which requires some physical labor. But even so,
Hey, it doesn't matter who it is, as long as they can do the job. Why would I want to discriminate when people are so hard to get this day and time?
let me ask you, did you talk to any men about being a
I
receptionist?
certainly did.
And who did you choose?
I chose a woman.
Did you ever fill the territory manager's job?
Sure I have.
Did you fill them with men or women?
They were filled with men.
After showing all the tapes to our experts, we note there were differences, not only in the way Chris and Julie were treated, but also in the way men and women on our team reacted to those differences. We've shown these tapes to a lot of men over the last few weeks, and I have to tell you, a lot of them don't see the problem.
I don't really find that so surprising. When men like Chris are advantaged, it's very hard for them to see that other people are disadvantaged at their expense, and I think social change takes a long time.
It shows how taken for granted these cultural stereotypes about gender are. This is the way it's been for men and women for many years. What's wrong with that?
Our 2 testers also have some final thoughts. Chris says one of the toughest things about sex bias is how subtle it is, that only an experiment like ours can show Julie whether she's being treated fairly.
She'd never know unless she was able to, in our situation, sit down and look at a tape and compare to the way I was treated.
Seeing the same person treat me as if I was an annoying fly on the wall and treat Chris as if he were, manna from heaven. Ooh, that's bad. That's very difficult to stomach.